YOLO composing gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about cleaning up things inside a Regroover as far as telling it to put the kick sample, all the parts of the kick sample together, all the parts of the snare, because it uses a machine learning algorithm. And so sometimes, in fact, much of the time, it splits things up into ways that sort of make sense, but they're not exactly what the human wants. And so they give us the ability to sort of adjust Regroover to get things the way we want. So for example, right now, I have like all my small percussive elements up here. That's really nice. I have a kick. Like there's the kick sample with the click and everything. And here's the snare. And all together, the original loop. So I'm going to show you how to get this nice isolation, because if you look at this, there's still other elements going on. Like there's pieces of a snare and a hi-hats overlapping each other. And so this produces not like, if you were to sample this the original way and try and break things up like that, you would never be able to separate the hats completely away from the snare. It just wouldn't happen. It'd be too difficult. Like, listen to that. Like, there's the closed hi-hat. Like, bam, right there, and it's completely separate from the snare. Like, that's amazing that you can do that, and it's that literally separated. The original loop itself, by the way, sounded like that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to open up a second Regroover, and I'm going to show you how to get to this, and you can apply this on anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag it on in. And this is, of course, a follow-up to the earlier video where I showed off many of the features of Regroover. So now, okay, we open it up and we see this is definitely not what was in my other one. Things are kind of mixed up. If we listen to the top stem, it sounds like this is like mostly mid stuff. If you listen to it, like there's the mid part of the snare and there's the high part of the snare. And the loop itself just happened to have it's split like this. And so the machine learning algorithm went, hey, these sound like these should be separated. And so I'm going to separate them. If we listen over here, it sounds like we get a lot of the open cymbals. Check it out. So it's like, okay, these are hi-hats, cymbals kinds of things. And then these all have a similar attack and timbral nature. So it sort of made sense that it put these together. But we humans know, obviously this is not quite how it should be. Also, our kick sounds like it's gotten muffled, like blah, blah. Like, if we listen, there's no attack here as opposed to the attack that we had here or here. So that is something that Regroover tends to do a little bit. And so you kind of have to tell it to adjust things. So to do that, we're going to use the annotate tool. Now, a couple of shortcuts real quick. You hold Control-Shift to audition. So Control-Shift and then I click and I'm able to audition things. You're going to see me doing that all over the place, just so you know. And when you have the annotation tool on, what it basically says is, if I have something here, it says move this stuff somewhere else. But it says something else that no one seems to mention. And it's important to mention. It also says don't move stuff back to here. So if I have a selection here and I hit split, which basically says, hey, move this somewhere else. It tells the machine learning algorithm, put this somewhere else. I don't think it goes here. I, the human, have declared it doesn't go there. It's going to move it somewhere else. But it also, if I have something like here and I'm saying move this stuff around, it is not allowed to move this stuff back here. Let me demonstrate. If I hit split, notice how nothing went to there. 0 things went to there. Let's get rid of it and double click. You see it moved it all down here. So it said, hey, this stuff should go down here with this stuff. That's what it thought to do. So if I unclip this, I hit split again, it moved some pieces back here. See how stuff got moved here, but still nothing's been moved here. So this has 2 functions. And understanding that's really important, because that means that if you erase one of these or move one around, so you can click drag or you can hold shift and click, it's basically saying, hey, you can move stuff back here. And that's mega important so that when you make a move, you know what's happening. Because I've undone things on accident and there's no undo button currently in this plugin. So at least not to my knowledge. I don't know. If we go to projects, is there an undo? I don't see an undo. I'm not aware of an undo. If there is, let me know. And I'm sure at one point there will be one. But basically, let's go ahead, let's go to a new project because I don't want to undo what I just did. So I'm going to go to a new project and drop my loop back in. And so now that we know what annotate, how it works, it gives 2 commands. Let's go ahead and get to work here. So let's say, okay, here's our kick, and let's start with the kick. That seems to make sense. So we're starting with the kick, and we have our hi-hats and our kick on the same track. One other thing before we get started is if you have sync on and you separate all your stuff like I have here, and then you click sync, like let's say you're gonna change the tempo, then like manually that is, because right now it actually, I think it lines up with the clock tempo if I hit play. So it's already lined up. So the clicking sync here will like do a manual thing. It will undo everything you do here. So I've got it all separated really nicely right now, but if I hit sync, or not hit it, but turn it off basically, because it will go mute, it will unscramble everything, and then I won't have nice separate stems anymore, which is frustrating. So just be aware of that. Like if I turn it off, it reanalyzes it and see it's moved everything around again. So I'm going to click sync again, and so we're back to where we were. So just so you know, I've done that a couple times too, and that's a painful experience to learn. Once you've done all of it, and then you're like, hey, all that editing you just did, undo it. That's when you go into an auto-saved file if you spend a while doing it, and you say, oh, good thing I've got this save every minute feature on, or whatever program you're using. Okay, so back to the kick. So we've got our kick. We want our kick to sound nice. It looks like elements of the attack of our kick are over here, and here by these little bumps we can tell. And it looks like this, that sounds like it probably goes with the kick. So I'm going to select this with, first you turn on your annotation tool and double click, and then I'm going to alt click and drag. That allows me to move off the grid, see? So I'm gonna select this little bit, and I also want this bit here, so alt click and drag, and just select it up. Control Shift lets me audition it. This little bit, I don't wanna lose. Okay, so we've got that, and I only wanna work with this and move this down here. Let's do things one piece at a time, right? So I'm gonna lock these tracks. This basically says you can't move stuff here. And then when I hit split, it's gonna move this down here and this down here. So that's what split basically says, machine learning algorithm, put it in a new position. And there it is, so they are there. I don't want it to move back up there, so I'm gonna leave this as selected. And then I'm going to lock it, and let's go ahead and get the rest of our kick, which seems to be right here. And that little click right there. And those clicks do add up, like it does matter if you want your kick, completely back. So I'm going to, I unlocked it. I did that kind of fast, but I unlocked the track, and these two are locked now. And I'm going to select this and alt click, drag again. Just get that last little bit. That sounds like a cymbal or something, so I don't want that in my kick sound. So that's the nice of it. You can't, maybe more resolution will be added at some point, but currently you only have so much resolution to work with off the grid. So I'm gonna hit split, and it moved it all up there. And if you listen to our kick sound, that sounds so much better. Our attack is back. Like the originalness, if that's a word, of the kick is there again. And you can do that. And look at this. We've gotten rid of things that were overlapping. Like you wouldn't have been able to separate that out before using other plugins. Like the filtering for that would be ridiculous. Like this blows my mind personally. So anyways, okay. So we've now done this magic ability to separate samples. And now what we're gonna do is now we say, well, I don't want these on the track, right? So I'm gonna move these on up to here because I'm gonna make this like my cymbal or my hi-hat or whatever track. So I'm going to lock this guy, unlock and unlock. So these two are unlocked, and I'm gonna transport these guys on up. And I leave the other things selected just because I don't want to risk anything going up. Now this piece here, let's hear what that is, because that doesn't look like, those sound like cymbals or something. This sounds like a muffled kick. So this seems like it should go with the kick channel. And it sounds like I should perhaps move this up a bit. Okay, so now that we have all that, I'm gonna hit split, it'll move it on up. It's been moved up, and we're good. So now we have a separated kick channel. And a really soft kick right there. Now we can move on to, let's go for the snare next. So here's our snare. There's our snare up here. And let's go ahead and I'm going to move these down to here. And I'm going to move all the cymbal stuff up. So I'm going to lock my kick. I'm not changing that anymore. I'm going to lock this, and because I want this to get moved down here. Now it sounds like the high end of the snare was separated from the body of the snare. So let's go ahead, let's select that. And I'm going to deselect this because I'm going to be moving stuff from this track. So I don't want to like move anything that was there. And let's check to make sure there's no cymbal stuff over there. And let's just go ahead and select this last little bit. And I'm going to hit split. These two are locked, so we would expect it to go all the way down to here. Hit split. And it does exactly as expected. So this right here sounds like it could possibly go up here. And what is this? Because these line up with the snare, so they look like they possibly go with the snare. But no. They sound like closed hats. So that's correctly separated. That's so cool. This kind of stuff blows my mind. All right, so now we're going to move this stuff away because what is all this? This stuff doesn't look like snare stuff. It sounds like funky stuff in our original loop. What is this? This sounds like all stuff that's just like extra percussive stuff. Okay, so I'm going to leave that selected and this selected because I don't want any piece of this to go back up there on accident, which will probably happen if I don't have these selected. So this says, don't move that stuff up there, and I want this stuff moved. So I hit split, and since those are locked, only this stuff moves, and if we look at this, all that stuff's been transported. Now there's only one last step to do. It's to combine these two. So I'm simply going to select all of this and hit split. And that stuff gets, oh, well, part of our stuff got deleted. You notice that? That is because there's no place for this to be put because these are locked and those are not there. So it just goes away. It might have actually gotten moved down here. Doesn't sound like it though. Oh yeah, it does. There's some symbol in there now. Okay, so there's an issue where I was unaware and I didn't do things properly here. So I'm going to, let's see if we can separate this out. Dang it. That's a problem. What we can do is we can say, okay, well, let's hit split one more time. And we see it sort of returned to what it thought things were. And we can really quick, there's our closed hat. And those things seem to go together. So what I'm going to do is really quick, do that one more time. I'm going to select, actually, wait, what the heck am I doing? Let's move this back down. Yeah, oh, this track's locked. Let's move our elements of the snare back. That looks like all of the snare that was moved up. Let's hear it. So yeah, see, stuff like that can just get you if you're not paying attention, which I guess is kind of good to have in a tutorial, just to show you common mistakes. That's kind of an interesting sound. If we could turn off annotation, steal the sound as just a separate thing and use that. But we're looking at just separating our sounds nicely. Okay, so I'm gonna hit split. It moved it down. Now I'm gonna move everything else back up. And we can actually have annotations on annotations. I try to avoid that. It just gets weird as far as like what's gonna happen. And we determined all this stuff. Actually, that sounds like snare stuff, so we're gonna keep that there. So okay, all this stuff can be moved, and we've moved it up. Okay, now we're gonna combine these two stems as one thing, because they sound like they should go together. You might want this separate. I don't know. It's up to you. Personal decision. But what we're going to do is I'm going to unclick that, and unclick this. That way, everything's clear to move, unlock my two channels, and do what we should have done in the first place. It all moves up there. And we have a nice separated stem. So if we turn annotation mode off, actually, you might not want to erase all that like I just did, because what you can do is you can have selections and stuff, and if you turn it off and then you turn it back on, they're still there. So you can actually save this as a project, and I don't know if it actually holds up when you load it again because I haven't tried it, but that could be a potential thing you want to do. Basically, we turn it off now, and you have the separate stems. And this one's just empty. We have our kick. There's a little bit of cymbal in there. We could try and get at that, but this is actually fine for now. So, okay, there's that. Let's do another one, just a completely random one. And then, because I sort of like, I picked that one to show you as a little demo thing. But let me just show you it sort of a little bit faster, because that's like all the explaining in the long one. So let's open up a new Regroover. I could do it over that one, I suppose, but what the heck, we'll do it in a new one. Seems like a good candidate. We'll do it with this one. So here we have some cymbals. Ah, listen to that thing. And look, it's separated it out. Oh, it looks like pieces of it. Looks like that should probably go up there. Man, this blows my mind how it can just do that. Like, to separate that would have been so hard any other way. Okay, so looks like we got some mid stuff here. Cymbals. Okay, and what is this? It sounds like we don't have a kick in this. Okay, so let's hunt for cymbal stuff and put all our cymbal stuff up there. So, or actually, let's put this together, because this, right, that should clearly go up there. So we're going to turn on annotation. I'm going to lock this, this, and this. Whoops, not that. And I'm just going to select this. Ah, but there's some hi-hat in there too. Well, what we could do is we could give it another option and say, hey, you can move stuff around. We'll say, hey, you can put some stuff here or here. Give it an option. See if it moves it separately. Let's see what it says. Look at this. That's quite a bit better. That's amazing. That's freaking amazing. Okay, if you're not amazed by this, you've never tried to separate drums. So, okay, there we have that. That's really good. This sounds like the mids of some cymbals. This sounds like these two might go together, but we're not gonna. This just sounds like it might be the warped missing piece of that, which is why the filtering might be a little off. Because all it does is redistribute the data. It actually all adds up to the same thing still. So what we're going to do is turn those off, turn that off, and I'm going to hit split. That sounds a lot more full and natural. So that's probably what was happening there. And then this. That sounds like the same rhythm, right? So these go together. So let's select all of this, and we're going to unlock that and lock this and hit split. And there's still a little bit of weird filtering. Oh, you know what? That should probably go up there. I don't know why that didn't go up there with it. Let's go ahead, split. Okay, so this is the glitch. Kind of unfortunate. It happened during the tutorial. And this happens in FL2, but not really Studio One. But every now and then, everything just disappears, and this basically means you've lost your work. If you have a save thing, you can use that. There is a way to get back the audio, though. It's not like gone. All you need to do is turn your layer up to 5 and only select and deselect your erase. It happens when you select all the way. So normally I select right up to the end. So if I had done this instead, I wouldn't have gotten the glitch. I have my theories. I've tried a lot of things. But anyways, if we hit split, it's going to say, oh, there's going to be more layers. And bam, our audio's back. If for whatever reason you don't remember where you pulled it out of the browser, you can retrieve it. I found this out after troubleshooting. But basically, you see that could be a problem here. So let's go ahead and then I want to move back to 4 layers. So we'll hit split, we'll hit OK. Like, yeah, we don't care. And basically, it's just you can split things into more layers if you wanted to make more decisions on where things should go. Okay, so that we got to do our move one more time. So I'm going to lock this, and I'm going to go back into annotation mode, select this, and basically say, hey, reconsider this. It's going to say, oh, yeah, that. And we already know what it did there. we got our hi-hats, and we basically said, hey, this stuff over here sounds like it goes up there. So I'm going to lock this and hit split, and we got that back. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to lock this, unlock that, and re-click. And last time it moved some of this stuff back for some reason. So actually I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to put a little thing basically saying, don't move any crap back there. And then I'm going to lock it just to be sure. And so let's do that one more time. Oh, it flipped everything because I told it to move, but this is a locked layer. So see, this is something that I don't understand every nook and cranny of this, because it does decisions like this from time to time. But it still sounds fine. And it sounds like it's moved pieces of that up there. So I'm just going to move this back down, lock that, and undo that, hit split. But see, it's moved pieces of this. So this is the frustration I run into occasionally. And if anyone knows of some magic thing that I perhaps am doing wrong, please let me know. But until then, it's a mystery to me. So we got our snare and sort of this like really funky snare there. Our hats, most of our separate like hi-hat pieces, and it sounds like these are our long hats. This sounds like it should go on our second one there. So I'm going to lock this, unlock that, and hit split. And again, it moves stuff down here. So what I'm going to try to do to sort of remedy this is I think if I just leave my annotation selections in, it'll fix a lot of this mumbo jumbo that's going on. So I'm going to hit split, and I'm basically going to say, hey, see what it says. And I've separated this into its own stem. It kind of makes sense to have it its own stem. And that's a reasonably useful separation for me. It sounds really clean and nice, and I could definitely use some of these samples as separate individual entities. Let's do one more. I realize this is kind of a long one. But what the heck? Get some weird stuff. Sure. Let's see what it can do. Can you separate? It's not really made to do tonal stuff, but let's see. Sounds like part of our kick got mixed up in there. That's pretty dang cool. Okay, so it sounds like, here's some of the stuff. You can hear the low, this low frequency should go with the kick. This bit here shouldn't. Okay, so let's start giving it options. Let's start saying, okay, this right here is not kick stuff. So it looks like another kick hits here. None of this is kick stuff. This right here is kick stuff. Looks like there's only 2 kicks. Let's see if we can get the kick by itself. It's sort of a challenge round, right? And I'm going to move all the guitar stuff. This is so cool already. I'd take that as a sample, but we're looking to sort of isolate. So let's lock these and move those down. Okay, so we have elements of the kickish here. Now this sounds like part of the kick, but it's not only the kick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this a little bit out so that it has room to move stuff into here if it wants to. And I'm going to leave these 2 unlocked. And I'm going to select this and basically say, hey, move this stuff around. I think it might be part of the kick. And let's see if it can isolate it out. So hit split. We've definitely got parts of the kick now. That and this sound like they sort of go in there. Let's unlock this. We'll hit split one more time. Oh, we're getting more of a kick here. Okay, so sounds like this has been completely separated. this low end. Okay, let's move this out. Let's hit split and see if it's capable of moving things, separating them out a bit better. Possibly not. What we have with the attack, it's this thing right here is making it difficult. Just tell it, hey, look at this. We'll give it some room to move up. Oh, okay. Pretty close there. What about this one? We're only missing that last little itsy bitsy attack. That's as close as I can go. And these two are selected, so nothing should be able to move up there. If we hit split. There you go. There's what I think is most of the kick in the sample. There might be some tail still in there, but it's clear that most of it's now been moved to here. Now this, that sounds like it probably should be like some messed up after part of the snare. I don't know what the original had going on, but that sounds like something. And this sounds like it could be part of the guitarist when they were hitting their strings. There's just some low content, part of the strum, perhaps. So what we could do is let's say, okay, well, this stuff, that's a solid kick. We'll move this on down. I don't think I've done one this challenging before. And then I'm just going to let it do what it thinks this stuff should go. I'm not going to lock anything. So it's basically just gone, and we have our kick here. And it looks like it's moved most of the stuff down here. You can see it there. Okay, so this stuff, I'm going to move this. And I'm going to say basically move this somewhere else. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to decide to move it. Because that's part of the kick. And move this, you know, somewhere else. This isn't part of the kick or nothing. And this is sort of a strange thing. I'm just going to let it say, hey, if you want to move stuff there, you can do it. And let's see what it does. Ah, jank, it moves stuff. Oh, wait, it moved the kick. Did it move all of it? Anyways, some of these are going to be harder than others. And this one's in particularly rather challenging. But you can get some really interesting results by using this and just sort of sample mangling. Sometimes more traditional methods will be possible. If you spent long enough working with this, very high chance you'll eventually get what you want. Like, for example, once I had the kick separate, I might have like always made sure that I had everything else selected so that the kick had to stay where it was, and so on, so forth. It's you definitely stumble across some really interesting sounds in the process, and you get a lot better at being able to peel apart sounds. Like, ever since I started using this, my ability to hear the sound and all these different levels has gone up, because I'm like, what would Regroover do to this thing? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be a bazillion things. And I have a lot more of an idea of what those things could be. There was a moment there where we pretty much had that kick by itself. So it looks like we've lost the chiff here. I mean, I kind of want to just see if we can get it back. Move that, and then we'll lock this and say, yo, put that back up there. We've got our kick back. We could say, move this. Just move it somewhere else. And also, oh, we got like a little wave thing up there. Put this somewhere else. That might actually go with the kick. I don't know. If I click it, it's going to move it back down there, which I'm fine with. We lost some tail on that. Oh, an undo button would be really appreciated in this plug. I know there's a lot of things that are sort of on the list for this. So we'll see if it gets added. If it does, that'll be a huge advantage, like super useful, instead of relying on constant saving and stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. I know this is kind of a longer video, but I wanted to be a little thorough and explain things and show you sort of the thought process and some just attempts at getting things to be separated. If you have any questions, I said that. Subscribe and have a blessed day.